Welcome to another episode of the Supreme Court Basketball Podcast. I'm Big Bear, 1/3 of the trio, and I have with me Big Ree and Big Chris. Fellas, what's going on with you? How y'all feeling today?
You're feeling great. As long as whenever we can do this, I'm feeling wonderful. You know that.
Right.
Whenever we can get it popping on the
great. How are you?
Tip.
You know?
You dig, Bradesky?
Yeah, what's happening? We just Minsky mobbing tonight, you know, on this special Tuesday.
Another day. A lot going on in the world of basketball, for sure.
Plenty. We closing in at the right time in terms of like that perfect time of the year where you got that basketball, you got college basketball. Well, now it is end.
Yeah.
And the NBA gearing up for the playoffs. Literally like 4 games left for pretty much every team in the league. That's yeah, man, bearing down on the playoffs.
And it's a tight race.
It's a tight race in the West.
Race.
To some degree, get towards the bottom of it, and it gets a little goofy.
Yeah, but we're talking about, but I mean, I think this is the tightest we've seen in a long time. So.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
But even that considered, before we get into the NBA, we gotta give some love to the UConn Huskies, the Lady Huskies, who won the NCAA championship along with the Florida Gators back on the scene. What did you guys think of just kind of how the tournament played out? I think for me personally, this is where I might think that the tournament is actually the best sporting event there is. I think for me, I know we love the Super Bowl and everything, but there's so many variables that goes into this that for me, I was like, yeah, even though we didn't have the Cinderella, there was still some twists and turns there that happened. But for me, I think this is probably my favorite sporting event of all. What do you guys think?
I mean, you know how I feel. I agree with you. This is the best singular sporting event. I mean, tournament style, playoff style, in terms of like team
one and done,
win or go home, win or go home, or win in advance, lose and go home, win in advance. It's the best one. One of the best selection processes. We've talked about that before. Not perfect, but then again, what is? Because we can take all kind of exception to the NBA's current style of playing and that, and we'll get into that nonsense.
Yeah.
But I mean, because it is. It's just flat out. It ain't nothing but, it's nothing but goofiness, straight up and down. I mean, but we didn't get the Cinderella story this year. We didn't get that heartfelt, that story that captivates the nation and wins over the imagination of the American people. We didn't get that this year. It would have been great to have. It's always fun to do it. A team that rises from the ashes of an unknown program, some small town somewhere, and makes its way to the national stage. It's always cool to see. We just didn't get it this year. It happens like that sometimes. Even when you get that, the way it shakes out, the way it usually does, major conferences, major programs rise to the top and find a way to win it. This year, my Duke Blue Devils found a way to... I almost started cussing so early. They found a way to fuck it up. I didn't want to go there, but God damn, I'm trying, because that, to be up like that, and to think we had put the game. I mean, I was trying, but it'd be hard not to. Like, we were right there at the doorstep.
I guess so, yeah.
I mean, I was just waiting to crown my white boy Cooper flag. Man, it's like the baddest in the land.
No,
God, dude, that's the dance, right? Like sometimes the clock strikes 12 before you get. You know what I mean? Hey, like that's just the way it goes. We got there.
Back to being a pumpkin. Yes,
pretty much. That's how this shit goes. And now, everything I didn't want to happen happened. We got an SEC team winning a damn tournament. Man, that shit got me heated.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And UConn, congratulations to them ladies. And congratulations. As much as I hate it, I got to give congrats to the Florida Gators. They did the do. They did Dougie. You know what I'm saying?
And they were
down.
It
is what it is.
I mean, and you know what? Shout out to Houston. It was something about seeing Houston per se, not Texas, but Houston specifically, like to see how they played, how they overcame, to have a tournament where you had all your number one seeds. That was actually entertaining. Yeah. And again, the plot twist, I know you heard and read, but I did think, I must say, as much as I'm a Carolina kid, boy, I thought y'all had that. And I was just like, man, and then to not see them there, to see, I saw the press conference with Cooper, and then I was just looking around the scene, and I'm like, okay, you look at the Houston game, handling Florida for a good minute. It looks like they start to pull away and then turn out. And if you know me, there's nothing worse than a 2-point loss, except a 1-point loss. But, like, hey, blow me out. Tell me I wasn't here, which we saw on the women's side, which was very shocking. South Carolina got slapped, flipped up, and rubbed down. I was just like, And you saw a level of frustration in Don Staley in that game where it was just like, it's the worst. This is the hardest part, I would think, for a coach in the tournament, because all you have to do is have a bad game.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
You happen to have a bad game on the biggest stage at the absolute worst moment possible, and you get it handed to you. Yeah. And there's nothing you can do about it but live in it until next year and hope you can come back and fight. But my favorite part of watching the women's game was actually watching Geno after the game and seeing how
emotions, definitely.
He actually poured into those girls, and he said something that reminded me why I fell in love with coaching. And he was like, paraphrasing, of course, but he said something to the effect of like, tomorrow my life goes back to being my life, but these girls' lives are changed forever. Their whole existence, everything they've tried to accomplish, like their existence in basketball has changed. This is number 12 for him, which is wild, right? But he nailed it. My life, I go back to, okay, it's time to recruit, what's happening in the portal, the whole nine. But these girls are forever changed. And just for him to be able to, in that moment, have that moment of reflection, be vulnerable with how he felt and expressing how much he loved his kids, teaching his kids. And, even when Beckers got up there, she talked about how, he told me I love you and I told him I hate him. And it was kind of a joke in the best way possible, where it was like, that man pushed me to places that I didn't know I could get. And when I think about coaching, it was like, yeah, that was by far the most rewarding thing that's happened to me in coaching, is being able to see my people grow, to be able to see my players excel, to be able to see all that they have become in life, just outside of what we do, on the court, just to be able to see them thriving. I was like, yeah, I actually understood that in a way that some people may not, but that was pretty cool to see. I thought that was dope.
And not to sound sappy, that is ultimately what you do it for, right? As a coach.
Oh, for sure.
That's what counts the most, which is not to say if you're doing it professionally, the money matters, definitely. Don't ever get that twisted. But I would think above all,
this is goods and services. Let's not pretend.
Right. We are all capitalists if we live in this country. No doubt about that.
Right.
But that should matter the most. And you get to see that. And that was, even as somebody on the outside looking in, it was like, damn, I felt the reward of that. Like, man, that's got to be a great feeling. It's good for Coach Auriemma. Yeah. Again, number 12. He hoist a 12th national championship. Like no other coach can say that. Not even he surpassed
the closest
John.
to him
he surpassed Madden.
Is Pat Summitt.
No, not Pat. Women's basketball.
Pat Summitt has 8. But
it's John Wooden overall, and he surpassed him 12-1 in the national championship game. So when he gets there, he pretty much wins it all.
Right. I mean, he has six undefeated seasons along with the championship. I mean, you know what I mean? Just watching that game and watching how they dominated South Carolina, it was a beauty to see, because the sheer size, and that's the thing about, we're talking about collegiate sports in general. I think that you're going to get the best, because see, the difference in the NBA is, yes, we know that it's hard to get to the championship, but you have a chance at it again. A lot of these kids only have so many years in college, and that is it. And there is no next level. So that, you see the raw emotions, you see different type of effort that you see in collegiate sports. And particularly, we're talking about the tournament that you get. I mean, it's the best show in the land. It truly is. There's nothing that you can get, because when you think about it from a standpoint of just entertainment, we can talk about the playoffs with the NBA, but more so really the finals, depending on the matchup, But when you talk about collegiate sports, you're going to get in the tournament, like you said, one shot, one game, that type of energy.
One shining moment.
That's it. And when you see it, because when you saw Duke, it was so crazy, because the Final Four, and then we Duke against Houston, in a two-minute span, Duke had control and ultimately lost the game. That was, and had you blink and turned it off thinking, oh, it's only 2 minutes left, I got to make a run, you would have never thought, because I work graveyard. So I'm going to work, and I just get there, and it was like, I'm listening to it on the radio. And then when I hopped out the car, by the time I went upstairs to the break room, it was like, oh no, the upset. And I was like, what? Like, what happened? And the 3-pointer was just, it changed the game. And then you see with South Carolina, I mean, man, I thought that, Staley was going to win another one. But when you see UConn and you see their sheer size and how
they came in the underdog, though.
Right. But you see defensively how UConn, how they looked. they frustrated, South Carolina from beginning to end. And their size was a problem. I mean, the rebounding, the block shots. I think that's where in college you can still see basketball, in my opinion, in its purest form that we come to love. You're going to see great defense. You're going to see, at times, yes, is the shot clock on the men's side, does it appear too long in the halves? But besides that, with just like sheer love of the sport and the game, like I said, I love it. It was must-see TV. It was what it was expected. That's the one thing we always get what we expect out of the tournament. You know what I mean? There isn't just like, oh, it was super whack. Like the energy and excitement, you're going to get it somehow. Even if it wasn't a team that that you rooted for, you're still going to get some great storylines or something. You're going to walk away with some type
value,
of entertainment.
It provides something.
I was actually pulling for Kevin Sampson to be the oldest coach to ever win it because his body of work and just seeing him year after year,
try it
for him to finally get there, it was like that'd be a good storyline. And he's got nothing to hang his head about. That was
nothing at all.
An excellent effort, but man, sometimes when you are in the moment of coaching, it really does come down to just a couple of mistakes. Mm-hmm. And I think we saw a lot of that in this year's tournament. We saw just a couple of mistakes knock out a bunch of teams. And that's why it's like you absolutely just have to be better this day, one day at a time, one game at a time. Minutes. And if you can do it, you got it.
That's it. Yeah.
So how was you guys' brackets?
Oh, man, like everybody else, they was busted to hell by the time we got to the Elite Eight. I had stopped counting. I threw them out because it wasn't worth nothing. I couldn't. I had five
best case scenario, you picked the winner.
Did I pick Florida for any of my? I don't think.
I did have Florida in one of mine.
I think I may have picked them for one, but even with them being picked as my champion, everything else was blown to shit. Like by
the Elite. I still had Duke in the championship game. I had Duke in the championship game.
I had them winning one, and that again, of course, that was a heartbreaker, but. And again, for those of you who might find it a bit shocking, I didn't even watch the national championship game for the men's. I was just so not looking forward to the outcome because I wasn't certain about Kelvin Sampson and that Houston team as much as I liked them, and I wanted them to be the team to win because they beat us. Yeah. So it just made more sense. I'm rooting for them. Plus, I've liked them all. Right. I've liked them for the last 4, 5, 6 years since he's taken a hold of that program. I watched the highlights, but I just couldn't. I didn't want to watch Florida do what they ultimately did, even though it did come down to kind of a last minute. That Duke game, to me, I only watched the last few minutes because I wanted to see how much we pull away and end up winning it by. Because to me, about 3 minutes in, it was pretty much academic. We got this game. The matter is, it's the margin to me that matters. Like, are we going to blow them out? And it was like, oh my God. But that was, a good wrap up to the season. Congrats again to the Florida Gators, the men's Gators. The women's UConn Huskies, Paige Beckers, she did her Dougie. She climbs that mountain. She's one of them ones in that program. And she got her AZ Fudd.
Yeah.
That team, Sarah Strong, who was, I thought would have been at South Carolina. I thought she was recruited to go there.
Yeah.
And she ends up going to UConn. It's like, and she may have been ultimately what swung the pendulum. I mean, and when I say swung the pendulum, it swung back strong in UConn.
Yes, it did.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, it did.
Yeah.
I think everybody thought, it was going to be South Carolina's thing. I thought that, going into it, it looked great, but people forgot UConn had that. UConn all around.
They had the horses, man.
From 1 through 5. Yes, they did. And it's crazy.
And you saw South Carolina struggle in moments in a way that you hadn't seen in the last year or two, where it was just like they have some holes, small ones, but it was like, you saw where this may not have been as strong a team, and going up against UConn very early on, you saw preparation and passion, and they got a little lost and they just never recovered, and it spiraled on them. But I think just kind of to put a bow on that, the future of college basketball in terms of the tournament, that formula for all the headache of who gets in, who gets out. My Tar Heels were controversial getting in; they blow out San Diego State and then they're out. I think that tournament is where they do the best work in terms of when it's all said and done, getting there, transfer portal, all that stuff. That's a whole nother issue, topic, whatever the case may be. But the tournament itself is worthwhile. I think one of these years we need to go to Vegas, guys, and just cover the tournament from Vegas and shoot a couple live shows and make something happen with that. But I think
most definitely.
I think that would be a fun on the road show But speaking about on the road, an NBA coach is on the road today. Crazy. So right before we came on, we found out, and it's not somebody that I would have expected, but Mike Malone just got fired from the Denver Nuggets. So a couple years ago, you're hoisting a trophy, and tonight you got a white box, and you putting in everything you can before it's time to head out. What are your thoughts on what happened with Coach Malone and their GM both being fired tonight with 4 games left in the season? I believe they're in 4th place. So they're top 4, top 5, whatever it is at the moment. And your head coach is gone. What are your thoughts?
Shit was all good just a week ago, wasn't it? You know what I mean? Or rather 2 years ago, right? To go from NBA champions to now being in the unemployment line, you and your GM, Calvin Booth and Mike Malone, that's got to be tough, man, for a team to part ways this late in the season, literally 4 games before the playoffs. Like, what? I don't even know what the train of thought is behind that move. Like, if you don't think that'll cause some sort of disruption, at least in the sense of it being an interruption to the team, I don't know what. Like, I don't know what they didn't think they stood a chance at winning it, so they figured why not just blow it up now or begin the process of blowing up this team? I don't know what the thought process is I'm lost. I'm completely lost as to what the motivations were. Granted, it's got to be something behind the scenes. It's got to be personal. It's got to be political. From what I understand, Calvin Booth, the GM, did not get along with Mike Malone. They didn't speak much on or away from the court. I'm not sure if Calvin Booth made decisions contrary to what Mike Malone may have wanted for the team. And if that's cause for their rift, I don't know exactly what it is. But for both of you, be relieved of your duties on the same day, right before the playoffs, is kind of weird. And I don't know what's
That's
up
wild.
with that Kroenke group, the owners of that team. I don't know what the move is. It's hard to say. Like, does that solidify Jokic's stay in Denver? I would like to know what his feelings were surrounding it, how he feels about the move. Did he okay it? Was he tacit? Was he just completely indifferent to it? Those things I'd really want to know about this whole move is how Jokić felt about it and what are his plans going forward because of those moves. Like, will he have any say in the next head coach and or GM? Like, it's really interesting. I don't even know where to go with it, to be honest with you, Bear. What's for you, man? I don't even know what to say about it.
You know what? For me, just as a spectator, looking in Leverett basketball, I'm looking at it from like this was an emotional move because let's just say, they were worried about. Well, you think about it when you think about how they went about it. You think I don't know. I don't see like someone having an issue with the coach to the point this late in the season that like he has to go now.
Oh, you mean like?
And I know they were worried about they were going to lose it. But like personnel wise, and I think that they were on a losing streak, and they were worried about. They still would have made the play in. And my thing is, let's say they fall and they make the play in. I still believe they're going to get in. They're going to win in the play in, continue on, still be a threat. And let's see how far they go. And then in the off season, depending on how far they go, see if we can figure this thing out. And if you want to part ways with the coach, then you do it. But to do it right before the playoffs, I mean, there's only like 2-3 games left. And you say,
I think to the point, left,
2-3 left, and you're saying, okay, we got to get rid of the coach now. Where at the end of the day, this Nuggets team is still a threat, still can win, and you do this.
You still have the best player in the league,
right? And I don't understand the fact that, and we haven't gotten anything out. I don't know if this must have been, the ownership. They were fed up with something. And maybe is this a sign of things to come? Because when you make massive changes like this, is it because that your star player, which I don't know, I haven't heard him, and he doesn't come off that type of guy to be disgruntled, and because I don't know if that's the issue. Is it because one of their star players is disgruntled? Was that the issue? And why are we hearing about it now? And why wait till now? Like, why not keep the cohesiveness together through the playoffs? Because now I think this is going to have a negative effect. If you think you're just going to take out, which I believe is a great coach, you take him out and you go ahead and you put in a temporary replacement for right now to go ahead and run things, I don't see any good coming out of it. And that's where it was like, why now? Like you said, I think we had this conversation over here. Like, when's the last time we seen this? Maybe in the 80s? To get rid of a great coach, right?
Yeah.
A great coach going into the playoffs where you could make a deep run. arguably the best player in the league right now is on the team, this makes no type of sense. And I'm scratching my head about it because I'm trying to figure out the angle. It couldn't have been because of 4-game losing streak. It could have been because of threat of
it doesn't help anything. I tell you that much.
It doesn't, but to the point where I think it had to be more of, the separation with the GM and the coach. I think that lack of relationship, and it had to be something which I'm pretty sure is going to happen. We'll find out about it eventually. It's going to come to the forefront. There had to be some type of massive blowout or something. I mean, it would. Just think about it, to the point where you could just see an argument happen. Like, you know what? It will fire me. All right. That's the only way I could see it. You know what I mean? Because for no other reason, I don't think that, a player went to the front office and was like, hey, he got to go now.
But when you say player, the only player that would make sense that could make that happen on his own would be Jokić. I don't think Jamal Murray demands that kind of.
But Jokić, I could be wrong. Jokić does not strike me as that type of player.
No.
Like, I just want to play basketball and that's it.
And to be honest, there are times where I don't know that he wants to play basketball.
I promise.
For as good as Jokić is,
yeah.
I think Jokić just understands that I am just head and shoulders above most of you guys. This is a means to an end. This is how I can get the most money for me and my family and my future habits. But Jokić is by far the most. This is a job basketball player I think I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen somebody so talented have the disposition of like, I can't wait to retire. You know what I mean? Like,
never seen somebody so unimpressed by the entire thing.
One more championship, possibly, and I call it quits. Like,
where it's like, okay, the parade was cool, but I'd much rather be at a bar at home with my brothers, just chugging beers and had it is such a weird. So I don't think it was him, but for me, especially, it's a disservice to the team, specifically the players, because you now have a new guy coming in. Unless the players just, a lot of times what happens here is you just lose the room. They're tired of you. I think I've never really wanted to be an NBA coach for this particular reason. When you are one of the lowest paid people in the room, or, eighth best, ninth best, how are you telling somebody worth $200-300 million that you're lazy and you're not doing what you're supposed to do in order to make this work? And he's looking at you like, but my man, I'm worth $300 million. What are we talking? So regardless of what you feel and what your objective is, I'm the money. I'm the ticket.
The money now. Right.
Money.
Yeah, I'm the big wheel in this car again.
Yeah, and I think it gets to a point, like in this situation, but it is a disservice to everyone else, because now, okay, you promote from within, but that's a whole new philosophy, the way the language comes across. To do this, it had to have been bad. And this has been a weird year in the NBA because the whole Luka trade kind of feels like this, right? Like, what happened here for us to get to this point at this moment for this to go down? And I think that's kind of where it's like, yeah, this is a bit wild. So I'm very interested to see what happens here in the near future, because like I said, this is hot off the press, so we're going to get more information. But trust and believe, somebody's going to have to explain how we got to this place.
I had an interesting question.
Yeah.
And this your input is important. Again, as a coach, I got to defer to you on this too.
Yeah.
What does it say about the league or coaching in general that having been a championship coach does not make you immune to being fired shortly after? We ain't talking about he won it in 2012 and we haven't heard much from the team since. They've only gotten progressively worse. We're talking about a coach who just won 2 seasons ago. Has now been shown to exit. What does that say about the league and coaching in general, that now you can have climbed the mountain and it doesn't mean anything shortly thereafter?
I think for the most part, I think there's a handful of coaches that you can look at that can escape this reality. I think Steve Kerr, Greg Popovich, and hopefully he's getting better and we'll figure out what his situation is. My man in Miami, his name is escaping me. Eric, there it is. But realistically, there are a handful of coaches who can survive disgruntled players or somebody wanting a different vision. But I mean, we act like this is new. Frank Vogel got shown the door after winning it for the Lakers. Ty Lue got shown the door.
That's my thing. In recent years, especially, it's been far more frequently.
And normally it's within a year or two.
Right.
And it's weird how you can climb that mountain because you would normally think that would give you a longer leash.
Right.
But it's something about drinking out that wine, that championship champagne that makes your tolerance less. And it is a bad sign because what it says is you are expendable. But the reality of it is there are not that many amazing coaches in the world who can just assume this role, which is why you normally get the retread on them where they go, okay, cool. Let me tell you something. Right now, right here, Mike Malone will have a new job by the end of the week. You know what I mean? If somebody is willing to fire with 3-4 games left, that man is going to get an interview and he's going to get paid a king's ransom because what he's done. And now you start to see the clips surfacing about him being brutally honest. And that might be the bigger problem. Can I not be brutally honest amongst men as a man leading men? And that's why I've always said, look, hey, North Carolina, yeah, I'd be there. I'd get my name on one of them courts. But to come into the NBA, for what? Yeah. What impact, I guess, for me, what I looked at is college basketball is kind of the height of coaching because they are so close to making it to the pros, but they're just not there. So there's still that one thing that keeps them locked into you because it's like, coach, if I can just soak this up, if I can just get this exposure, if I can just play this year, it's right on the pinnacle of being like, yes, I am so close. But once they get there, how many guys have we seen get max contracts and fall off? You know what I mean? Or a big contract, not even a max contract. Yeah. But I mean, it's like you get fat and happy. And so I think it is a bad look. And the coaches in the NBA always argue the same thing. I'm sure you're going to get a tweet from Steve Kerr saying this is crazy. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whoever's over the Players Association, like, what are we doing? What are we doing when somebody who has led as a man, and to be honest, now it gets to a point of like our strong personalities no longer welcome. And I think that's where you start to have a problem because as a coach, if I can't lead, the problem is you have to have a coach who has more cachet than any player they're coaching, and there's just not enough of them. Phil Jackson could walk in any room and be like, I'm more decorated than anybody, put anybody in this league up against me. And the same reason why Shaq and Kobe fell in line. Because no matter how great they were becoming, they had nothing on him. You don't have that anymore.
No.
You know, so I think that's where it does say that this league is this, hey, the only nice thing for a coach is that money's guaranteed. So, hey.
You're getting paid.
You gonna give me a vacation? Cool. At the tune of, 10, 12, 15, 20 minutes. Yes.
Right. I'm okay with that. And I would take it. I would take it if I was under. But like you said, I totally get it from being a college coach. There's more to it. Like you said, I'm still going to get the money. The way that these college coaches are starting to get paid, how I can have reins over the whole program with, and kind
I can
of
still impact young men.
Right. And still rule with an iron fist. And I think the money has made NBA players soft to where you can't kind of, so to speak, punch them in the mouth with words when they need it. Like, you need to be
let me wake you players nowadays.
Right. Because it's like, I'm going to tell the daddy and you're gone. You're out of here.
Yeah.
Because I have, like you said, I have the power, I have the money. And I think that ultimately is the issue. Because from an ownership standpoint, they're saying, well, we need to win now. I'm paying these players X amount of dollars now. So the stakes are higher. And I need to, if I don't see it, like the idea, and that's not just from the coaching side, even from the player side, the time that it takes to really cultivate any talent, it's like, no, by the second year, you need to be arriving. The first year, I need to see some glimpses of what it could be. Second year, I need to see it all. And everything is moving at a rapid pace, and it's not fair, not only to the coaches, but it's not fair to the players too, because these players truly need it, whether we like to believe it or not, just because they're NBA players, they still need to understand, and they need that coaching on how to traverse the landscape of being a professional, the X's and O's of what it takes, because it is different from college to the NBA. And these coaches would know how to help you, but the problem is, we're giving so much power to the players that the coach, like you said, we coach for a little bit, but Chris, obviously you are, the resident coach, and from your standpoint, like what would be the biggest factor for you to stay out and say, you know what, I don't want any parts of it? Because it seems to me like you're walking into a situation in the league where you're handcuffed severely. Besides the money, you're handcuffed to really do possibly what you need to do to make that team great.
I think challenge becomes when you are dealing with men. There's something about teaching and training. Even young men are different than men, right? And you get somebody like Greg Popovich, for example, who we know has built a community in terms of San Antonio. It's bigger than just on the court. They will all, for the most part, minus Kawhi, sing his praises maybe and say, he was, and that was probably more geared towards injuries and things like that. But Popovich is very much on brand with like protect the brand. But even, the way he structures his teams, their outside activities, all of those things. I think we saw Coach K leave. I think we saw Roy leave. I think we saw a lot of those guys leave even in the college landscape because you couldn't do what you used to. Just being able to get a kid a scholarship was not enough. Like, to be able to say that you are a collegiate athlete is no longer enough because there's money. And there's a lot of money. And there's a lot of money going around to where these kids now are like, lack of a better term, it's side chick energy. Like, what are you buying me? What are you going to do for me, man? You know what I mean? Because just to be able to play at a prestigious school is just not right. Right. Where's the Birkin? Because if not, like,
no doubt.
And unfortunately, you're seeing players who are going into this like, well, they've got more money, but what they're not factoring in is every program is not for every player. So you're taking more money to be in a program, and yes, you got some money up front, but now you've been exposed. Because them words are not too far from each other. Exposure and exposed are very close.
Very, very.
And it literally is just that close when it comes down to it. You took more money, went to a program that didn't fit your play style. Coach wasn't invested in you as much as you thought because you actually didn't work out, and now your stock is dropped. So now you're trying to come back another year and play because you made a bad decision in the short term. So I think I get why some coaches would leave. I think the NBA is a whole nother issue to where you just have to find, because for as long as he's coached, Doc Rivers is still coaching. You know what I mean? Doc Rivers is still out there finding ways to do, and it's just kind of like, you talk about somebody living off cachet. You talk about somebody living off cachet. That man has a one ring. And that's not to diminish the one ring, but I mean, if we're looking at when he got the ring, that is still one ring.
When he got it, how he got it, no doubt. He definitely, I've wondered for years, like, does he have naked pictures of God or something?
It must be
what
something.
Is his, like, for real, like, as Nas said, like, he must have naked pictures of God at this point.
Yeah.
Who does he have leverage
back in the barn? Away in the manger, no crib.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get it. And he keeps landing on his feet. And again, that's what happened in years past with coaches. They would with these retreads. They keep finding a home, no matter what. And sometimes it was justified. You know, certain guys will eventually, given the right situation, given the right horses and talent, they will make it work. Some dudes are always going to just knock on the door, and that's going to be the end of it. You know, the Carl, the George Carl.
For sure.
Yeah, but that's it's unfortunate. We still want to know what went on. Hopefully, we do find on at some point. We get some more information, better understanding of exactly what happened. But on our side of things, or at least out here in LA and in the Southland, with the beloved Lakers, and also I got to mention, I'm not about to go too deep into it because again, I'm not giving no Clipper fans no false hope or hope for that matter. Right at the time when Kawhi is kind of coming on, a Clipper team is kind of clicking. Yeah, the Lakers, who now after winning 2 straight, have now fell back into that loss column against the Thunder, who they just smashed on 2 nights ago, losing badly,
like an In-N-Out burger.
Man, losing badly tonight. You know what I mean?
Man,
and possibly showing that they can't do it without Luka, which is hopefully the message that they take away from it, and it may be a bit of it may be a tactical advantage for the Lakers.
Yeah, it's still an advantage, right? He wasn't injured, so let's be keeping it real.
And he got ejected. I mean, so this game was relatively close all the way through. It was a much more competitive game. It's the game I thought we'd see the first time they played. To be honest, I probably would have sat these guys knowing that they got to go to Dallas tomorrow. Like, that's gonna be a little bit rough. So
Dallas is definitely gonna be up for the task. I guarantee.
Well,
yeah.
Not even just that, the emotion that all parties involved.
Yeah.
Bron isn't going to want to lose to AD. AD is going to want to show, yes, he was here, but now I'm here. Like, there's too many storylines. Yeah. Luke is going to be out for blood. Like, there's so many storylines there to where it was just like, hey, you came in, you beat them handily from start to finish. I would have gave these guys a break, no, because the one thing the Lakers are not collectively is a young team. You are still, yes, Luke is in his prime, but when you look at Bron specifically, right, and then you're looking around, and yeah, some of these guys are younger, but I'm like, at this stage of the season, it's probably time to give them that game, because at the end of the day, they need to win 2 games, right? They got 3 tries left now to win 2 games.
Yeah.
If they do that, they're in 3rd place. If not, who knows if they're in 8th? And I'm not being funny about that. That's literally where we're at, where it's like, you keep falling, who knows where you're going to end up. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think the Lakers, the one takeaway from this is we still were being competitive against them when we were full staffed, and they understood it.
It was close.
It was close. So it wasn't like they were blowing us out.
And there's 2 games in their house. Let's not forget that. Like, they got 2 cracks at the apple at home.
Yeah.
Right. And then we have to talk about it too. Even during this, the only reason that I think that we weren't up and we weren't starting to dominate is because of, handling and controlling the ball and sitting there and not protecting the ball. Turnovers, that they've been super costly during this season. I've noticed, that our turnovers, when they start getting high, no matter how well we play and how offensive we are, even defensively, those turnovers always creep up, and we end up losing the game, or it's a close game. But I'll say this, I didn't, we talked off air about this, but from a OKC, like, this had to be from like coach to coach trying to see what's going on, because from OKC standpoint, I have no reason to play. I would have been getting the energy. I would have been getting the rest. Why am I playing my starters? We have it locked. There is no one that can catch us. It's only like 3 games left for them as well. I would have at least, rested them the second game. But then again, the way they were blowing out, I can understand. It's about moxie. It's about to see who has that. Can we really get y'all? Was this a fluke? And, from the Lakers standpoint, at least we didn't have any injuries. Luka went out, which honestly, I can say he must have said something that rattled the officials.
Something, yeah.
I mean, he didn't even get a tech, then said some extra. It was immediately like, you're up out of there. So I'm looking at my Lakers. Only thing I'm concerned about is protection of the ball, but I'm liking where I'm seeing. And like you, overall, Chris, thinking about it, yes, the whole Dallas thing, there's so much emotion going to this, the storyline behind it, LeBron playing against AD, we're still living off of it, the trade and how opposing it was for both of them. The Lakers ultimately became like, a championship contender, and Dallas, we know what happened due to injuries. I mean, just depleted their whole, the rest of the season was done for them. And for even to play AD now, I don't think there's a reason to play him. I would have let him stay out, because we know
personally,
right?
Yeah.
We know AD, because AD can get hurt at any moment. So why would you? He's just gotten healthy now. I just would have been like, listen, let's keep it rolling, keep him on street clothes, and we'll see you next year. That's how I would have left it.
I mean,
but nonetheless,
that being said, though, barring a miracle, they still got that last playing spot. I mean,
but
and it seems like the Suns will not catch them. And I mean, anything could happen. But I mean, they've lost their last 6. I don't have a lot of hope in Phoenix. So
the Suns couldn't catch COVID in the war
for real at this point. For real. You know what I mean? Like, losers of their last 6. Dallas has lost their last 2, but I mean, they're in at least 2.5 games ahead of them with 3 games left. It's academic at this point. The Mavericks should lock in that 10th play-in spot, which is crazy considering all that they've went through to get to be where they are now.
Especially with the injuries.
To still have any sliver of hope, it's crazy. I mean, and that speaks more to the failure of the Suns than anything. That's
pretty
a whole
much,
nother, like, goodness gracious. I don't want to get too deep into that, but
I was going to say, because that's a whole nother conversation about clearing the cupboard out for KD in the summer or in the offseason. I don't know. I think... what's going to be interesting is to see, we've seen kind of both sides of the Lakers, and when they play their best defense, I think they've got a shot at competing with pretty much anybody. But The key is what we saw in that first game against the Thunder was how well they shot the ball. They shot the ball at a clip that it was like we all knew coming into this game, like, yeah, that's not happening again because that hasn't happened all season. So the question then becomes, with the Lakers at their typical offense and their best defense, can they do it? And I think they have a fighter's chance. But it's going to be tough when you start to talk about like Boston, for example.
There you go.
I don't think there's too many teams that are going to give them problems. The problem I think they have is that Boston superpower is on their wings. If you were to get a Porzingis back, that would add another layer. And you just got a lot. You got a lot of components. Even Al Horford at this age. Shout out to Al Horford, man. To still be playing at such a high level.
Yeah.
The epitome of YMCA game, if there ever was one in the NBA, where it's just I just know my job and I'm just good at it. You know, when he left the Hawks, I never thought that there would be this resurgence of like, is this dude actually getting better with age? You know what I mean? Where it's like, what?
Maybe more refined as this game and understanding it. I think so. Yeah.
I mean, think about us as young players, and when we would be out in the park running and spending all this energy, and we play these OGs, and they're sitting there, and it's like, yeah, you got that energy right now, young man. I'm going to post you up, get this back to the basket. I'm going to hit this bread and butter fadeaway, and you ain't got nothing for it. And we saw it then, but he just epitomizes that in ways where it's like he's always in the right spot. He always makes the right play. Nobody's speeding him up. It's just, this is what my game is. I know where it needs to go, and I'm going to use it. So
right in time.
Yep.
Right in time for playoff Al. Right in time to witness it. It happens every year around this time.
Where
man.
he goes.
It's a real thing, y'all. I'm telling you.
Al Horford is the anchor for that squad.
Yeah.
Depending on how he plays, that's how they're going to go. I mean, if you look at it, and that's the only team, Chris and Ree, that I say I'm worried about with the Lakers is Boston.
I think Kristaps make it back.
We have a similar makeup. We have a similar makeup, but when you guys are on and can hit threes, plus your defense, and plus the mismatches in the wings, it's gonna make for a long night. Like you,
with active hands, get out in the passing lanes, fast break goes well.
Great coach, their coach great. So yeah. That's another thing, and I'll say that
for sure,
the Lakers are going to have to play their A game to beat Boston. The turnover ratio has to. I mean, this last game they scored over 19 turnovers. They scored 29 points against us tonight. That can't happen against a team like Boston, right? I can look at it now and say I'm more confident now that the Lakers can make it out the West than I've felt in a long time.
I agree with that.
I think that, with the pieces that we have and how we're playing, I think that now, because everybody, of course, talking about OKC, but I thought OKC got off to a great start during the season. They played very well and consistent, with their future spell. Is he the next face of the league? Well, remains to be seen. But still, we're looking at this team, and I say they just been par for the course. But since the Lakers have made the trade acquisition of getting Luka, I don't know. I think that, we're looking at the record and we're saying that OKC is that team. But I think in their hearts, and I think they feel it like, this ain't that same Lakers squad. Not with we look totally different. We play totally different without AD. Yeah. And now we've seen a lot of other guys that have come along with him. I mean, Austin Reeves has really made a name for himself to where.
Yeah. He's a legitimate. He's legitimized himself as a third option. Yeah. In the league, period. Not just for the Lakers. Because in my thinking, and this is me, and I'm just keeping it a bean, if you can be a solid third option for the Lakers, that means you're a solid third option anywhere in the league.
Oh, agreed. If not a second option.
Right. If not a second elsewhere.
Keep in mind, you're playing behind two of the best minds in the league right now, LeBron and Luka. So, and one of them's on the tail end, one of them is still climbing, and you still find a way to be relevant in the midst of that. Yeah, that's actually impressive.
Yeah, he's done what I thought Bradley Beal was going to do in Phoenix, was be a good, solid third option.
Agreed. Yeah.
To make, and who would have known that we'd been at this? We'd be at this point saying that, damn, maybe Austin Reeves is better than Bradley Beal. You know what I mean? Like, if the proof is in the pudding.
I'm happy we didn't
it pretty much is it's a foregone conclusion to me. I mean, you know what though? We forget about that. You make a good point, Robert. I never thought about that. Credit due to the Laker front office for not giving him up in any deal.
Yep.
They came close to it. They wanted them
and standing tall.
Kudos to that. Like, you got to give it up. Like, because he could have got lost in the shuffle of all that, and it would have sounded like a good deal initially. But now you look at its play and you go like, yeah, that would have been a major whiff had they shipped him out for Luka or anybody. Like, it just would have been a bad deal. I don't know what you could have got in return for a guy like him. Maybe, I don't know, what's the comparable? Tyler Hero or I don't know what's comparable.
But the fact that you traded with Dallas, got Luka, still maintained a first-round pick and a pick swap, and kept your third option. And shout out to Max Christie, who is coming along and doing great and everything. And, we kind of started to see that right before. But at the same time, in comparison, it's like he's still a ways for what they were able to get and how they did it. You're right. Yeah, that definitely deserves some acknowledgement. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. The season is coming to an end. We got 3 games left, and then we're going to have to see it ramp up.
And right now, man, like I say, for my Celtics, I want to see Kristaps stay on the court, get healthier, contribute more. He hasn't played extremely well. I think he gives us a chance to win it all if he can be healthy throughout the playoffs, really give us some major contributions. I don't really see much competition. We're about 4 games behind Cleveland, which I'm not really afraid of like that. They're kind of underish in that regard. Like, it looks good, but I'm not really smelling what you selling.
Yeah, it's not proven.
You know what I'm saying? It's just not proven. Yeah. We are still the defending champions until somebody takes it from us. But the Lakers, and the West, I got to say right now, but the reason I mentioned Kawhi and him looking as good currently, hey, look, I'm just saying, I'm not putting too much on Drake. He is NBA's current player of the week. He's healthy.
Yeah.
He's the player we thought he would be. And when Kawhi is healthy, we know what he is. He is an all-NBA first-team caliber player, arguably one of the best, if not the best in the game. And now you got him back. Clippers are on a roll. That might be your first-round matchup. What y'all feel about that real quick?
Oh, that would be tough because the Clippers are going to not only give us a battle, I think where they even have an edge that we may not look at from the start is in Ty Lue. One thing Ty Lue has been able to do is he has been able to right that ship and keep it afloat, regardless of who is coming in and out of that lineup. And from a coaching mind, I respect that. And I think that's where, we'd have to see if JJ can match that. I think that becomes a challenge for them. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to see it per se, because, to be honest, though, at this point, there are no easy matchups. Whoever you're playing, it's just a matter of who can scheme better and really capitalize, but you at least have a chance to, So, yeah, if it's the Clippers, and until proven otherwise, Clippers gonna clip. So
that much is true. Let us never forget that. Let us never forget that.
You got to keep that in. You always got to keep that in mind.
Always, That's why I wasn't putting too much on it. Yeah. I was not putting too much on attention with that. Trust me. I was just saying. I was just noting that the Clippers are looking really healthy right about now.
I give them the props. They're looking healthy, but
and it's happening.
In the words of,
but it's coming together for them at the right time, is what I'm saying, and that could be a little scary. But other than that, I ain't doing. I ain't doing.
You're right. Please don't. As far as I'm concerned, I'm like Shannon. I'm like Sharp. I don't care about no Kawhi. I don't care about Ty Lakers in 5. It's going to be listen, this is the 1 year. In previous years, the Clippers have really fought us. I just don't think they got enough with them. I think the Lakers, Luka has changed the whole outlook. I would have never thought that we'd be looking like this. I know we were going to be better.
We've seen the best version of him. That's the craziest part.
You're right.
I think we've seen glimpses, but I don't think we've seen. You still see those moments where he's getting acclimated, where it's still new, where it's that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. So Lakers, listen. I would give nothing more, and I'm going to tell. I've said it before, and I'm going to keep on saying it. If we make it to the finals, we end up playing Boston Celtics, I'm going to be on LeBron so hard, because this can make or break your Laker legacy. Right there. You play against you somehow. You guys we get past, which I'm going to have all the faith in the world in. We get past the Boston Celtics, man. Listen. Then he may be deserving of some type of statue or something, a little small one or something outside of as a Staples. I don't know, but it just and I want to have Brad.
You don't really need it. You don't really need it like that. Not against the Celtics.
What?
You don't need it. If LeBron, if you're listening, you don't
cut it out. Cut it out. We know you the why you saying that. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Because for
It's cemented already, Playboy. You ain't got to worry about it no more.
Nah, player, it's gonna happen. Don't trip. I mean, listen, man.
You can rest on court and still be wanting to go to the game. That's all I'm saying, man.
I need you to put that hat down. You know what I'm saying? I need you to feel bad for another year. I don't want y'all got your victory, but I need the Lakers to be back on top right now. And I would love what that would say for the present, what it would say for the future is Lakers in great hands because we'll still have Luka as LeBron goes, and we have great things to build off of. And we beat the Celtics doing it. Yeah.
But around this time, next show, season will have concluded. We'll be talking about the playoff matchups for the first round. So
yeah, for sure.
Goes,
yeah.
Yes.
Don't take much. Well, it's come to that point of the show, y'all. It's time for what y'all think. This is just a random question that I will research, or one of us will research every week, and we'll just throw it out to the group. The group does not know what the question is. This week's question: what is something from your childhood you would bring back today? It could be a toy. It could be a store. It could be a show. What's something from your childhood that you would bring back today?
I need a long, hard thought because it's so many things. We live in
There's so many things.
Right. You know what? It's funny you say that because I have really been thinking about the collective nostalgia that I see around me on social media and I hear from adults. A lot of our conversations these days are about our nostalgia for the 80s and 90s. And it seems to be a collective thing. We're not the only ones. I think it's felt by everybody over a certain age. And hell, even for kids who have knowledge at the time we grew up in, they're kind of longing for the days
even though they weren't there.
Even though they weren't there.
Absolutely.
My kids have more connectivity to the time I grew up than today. And they didn't see none of it. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of weird. Like kids have such a passion for the good old days, and it's like y'all weren't even around for it. So, man, it's so it literally. But you know me, I literally feel like it was the pinnacle of human evolution in society. Just period. I think that was the best time in human history. I kid you not. Yeah. And I believe I read an article where scientists have basically said that was kind of like the pinnacle of like human society. Like that was the greatest time. So there's so many things. It's hard to narrow it down to one item, like one tangible, one physical item, or one.
Then let us know what comes to mind.
What about one aspect of it? You know what I mean? Like, because I have my thoughts on it. I kind of know.
Because we kind of talked about it before, like how just the freedom that we had either it was out of ignorance of, it was our ignorance of what was lurking outside beyond our doors and beyond our walls. But that ignorance gave us a lot of freedom. Our parents let us frolic in the streets as young as 5 and 6 years old until,
mind you,
from all
no
day.
Cell
I'm not
phones.
sure, but no cell phones. But I don't know. It's a tough one because, no cell phones. It's hard to imagine now somebody growing up. They've all had his cell phone, the screens in their face their whole lives.
Oh, even as parents, it's terrifying. Right. Like, what do you mean you left your phone?
Right.
Yeah, I can't function not being able to dial you. Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Parents was watching TV while you were out there playing, knowing they, you know.
Wow.
For me,
you're talking about a whole different world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It literally is a whole different world in a different time.
And every wave.
Yeah, and every
way. Right. Every way.
Man, I got to defer to you, Robert. Even Chris, one of y'all got to hit this first.
I'm not gonna. Okay, I'm gonna say it like this. I'm not gonna say it an item or anything back. I'm gonna just look at it a time and an era where you were able to. I'm just gonna paint a Saturday morning. The kids having just that opportunity to wake up early in the morning with your bowl of cereal and your little cartoon tray, right? Sitting down, parents still sleep. And early morning, the cartoons start on. They come on, and you literally 7:00, and you watch all of them. Right. By that time, the parents up, music is going, they're cleaning up and everything. The sun is out because it's spring and no more rain and nothing but sunshine. Right. Then you go outside. You got to get dressed, take a bath or whatever, brush your hair, and everybody is outside because once cartoons cut off, and for us, especially in the Black household. Right. You got to, you're right. Like you heard Soul Train playing and music and everybody's playing music in the neighborhood. And you hear the first set of kids screaming and making noise. It's like, oh, it's time. I got to get up out there. And the
Avengers
fact that
Unite.
Right. You're out there the whole time. and water was the sweetest thing you ever tasted that came out of a spigot and a water hose was the best water that a kid could ever have.
I promise you. Woo, they can bottle that up today.
And a time where, if the hearing, listen, either you in or you out, and you didn't want to be in. Yeah. To stay out on a Saturday until the sun started to go down, and a spring or summer day, water fights and getting into just good kid fun mischief. That feeling, I think that I want to bring back, because I think every child needed to feel that, to realize that the human interaction was something we craved. We understood, like, being outside was where it was at, not being inside. Now, the video games were around, other things were around, but that still
they were
held
consolation prize,
right?
For sure.
Definitely,
right. That was one of them things where, like, your bike was your car. Like, I had a bike, or you had skates, or whatever. Like
scooter, skateboard, something.
You thought, you think about it, and your mind was like, there's no place.
Scooter.
Right.
Yeah, there was that combination. No doubt.
What I don't even call it, the mixture, right.
Skateboard with some handle, with like a little, something affixed to the front of it. Like, that was
a crate, a milk crate on the skate.
My goodness.
You know what I mean?
Oh, my
goodness. Doing something like that.
Yeah.
And having the good old ice cream truck or the donut truck coming down, and every kid, when you had a quarter to 50 cents, can give you the world. You can walk away with like a pocket full of goodies, and everybody's sitting down, or we're sitting about to play tag, and understood that I don't think it's hard for this generation to even conceive like the fun we had and what it meant to us to be outside, to have to, and not to be one of those kids that you couldn't go outside.
Go ahead, man.
So you missed it. So that,
a little matrixy. Hold on, over
down to one thing for me, at least.
Yeah, you got sucked in with Mr. Anderson, or one of the agents, for a second. A little matrixy, man. I started to see numbers come up on the screen. I was like,
Megatron.
Yeah, man. I got it now. That's why I need to hear somebody else speak and go, because I couldn't quite. It was so many things, and I know it sounds sappy, and
I get it.
Y'all got to get all. We want to hear about super soakers or something physical and particular, and it was like, those things were a part of it, but it wasn't. To me, you said something that was really key, Robert. I touched on freedom in the past and how much I love the freedom we had in the 80s and 90s and stuff like that. How great that was. But to me, when I think something similar to that, but again, it might sound a little sappy, but what we had that we take for granted now, that we had at that time, you knew your neighbors. I would bring that back. You knew your neighbors. For a group of kids to be outside playing all day, you had to know your friends' mothers,
fathers,
and
different. Can't stand that old lady in the window in her kitchen at 6 a.m.
But you know what, though? For all of, as much as she got on your nerve as a little kid who seemed to be stifling your fun,
you'd beg for her today.
She was looking out for you. And the adults in the neighborhood, for the most part, you always got some bad actors. Most of the adults were looking out for the kids in the neighborhood. And again, you would go the sleepovers. I mean, you didn't think twice about it. For most of our parents, when you ask your parents to sleep over on a weekend or have your friends over, it was a no-brainer. And you could know that those kids would be accounted for and taken care of. You knew parents would cook for other kids. You come in and have dinner with your friends. They come in your house for breakfast, whatever it was. There was a sense of real community. Dr. Cornel West talks about it like it was before the neighborhood became the hood. And we might have been the last generation to still have some vestiges of the neighborhood. Even in the inner city, even in financially distressed neighborhoods, we still had a sense of neighborhood. Because even in gang culture,
they still looked out for some of the kids. Like, nah, that's a good kid. Let me help him out.
I remember
get in the house.
Right. I remember it very distinctly. My call to come home might have came from somebody, some gang member who was like, "Hey, you such and such, ain't your mama Fern? She looking for you, little boy. Get home." And I'm like, who is this? Like, but.
Right.
Palmwood Drive.
You understood, like good old Palmwood Drive, good old Jay's, but you knew that even as a kid, you didn't want to hear that, but you didn't take it no way for coming from an authority figure. And all adults at that time were authority figures, and most of them did not abuse their authority. They didn't overstep their authority. They were there to look out and be a safeguard for kids so that we can be outside playing safe, so we could have all day to do what we did. Like literally to go around, to go blocks at a time, like that sense of community, knowing your neighbor, man, that shit was, I literally have been here or where we are now, going on about 8 years in July. 7 years in July. Take that back.
And
I cannot tell you. I know my neighbors on either side of me by name. I know them by interaction because I've either gotten a package sent to their house or vice versa, and I've had to go talk to them about it. But we are not on a first name basis. Our kids don't know one another, and I've never been inside their homes and vice versa. And it's just such a crazy thing. But then again, kids aren't playing outside for you to have to know the neighbor's parents. You know what I mean? And I so wish that was going on nowadays. I wish I knew the kids, my kids' age, because my kids play with them every day. Every weekend they're out with them the entirety of the day. And I have to know them. I wish that was important. We don't have that anymore. Again, I still light up when I see a group of kids outside playing.
I saw it this week. I took my son to get his hair cut.
You almost want to stop and observe it for a minute. Like it's that rare.
I counted, it was 6 kids, and 2 were on bikes. 1 was on a skateboard, and the rest of them were walking. But I was like, that was the start to a good time.
Yeah, man.
Like that's just what it was. Yeah, that's funny that you.
And to have the kids that you grew up with, those peer groups that you had that you literally grew up with in some cases. Like, that was just the coolest thing ever, man. Like, and to know kids from blocks around, you went to the same school.
Yeah.
You just see them in the neighborhood and you play. Like, that's all. It didn't take much introduction. There was no barrier to entry. It was just like, we're all the same age. We're peers. We have similar interests. We kicking it. And it was that simple. And you would be ace boom coon like you. It was just a whole different time. And I can't make anybody understand that, but I would bring that back. Just knowing your neighbors and the importance of that in a community, to have a sense of community and neighborhood. It's something I would love to get back in 2025, but I don't think it will. What's up with you, Chris?
Oh, man, that's funny because you actually mentioned the one item that brought me so much nostalgia, and it was the Super Soaker. When you mentioned that, that was my actual answer to the question. When I found it, I was like, because what the Super Soaker represented was the pinnacle of kids having fun. You got your group of guys, you got your group of girls. It's the summertime. It's hot. The ice cream truck is coming around every 30 minutes. Parents are chilling. They happy you out of school. They don't have to get up and figure it out. So you talk about a random bear. You mentioned Saturday morning. Once some cartoons was off, it was like, look, I just got this Super Soaker. Then you had different variations. Mm-hmm. But I remember that item being in the middle of it all, whether you were shooting guys, you trying to shoot a girl in a white t-shirt, whatever the case may be. It was
young mischief.
Yeah. It was the pinnacle of just like, we had so much fun.
Yeah.
Anytime you had the water fights, because with the Super Soaker came the water balloons. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it was like, I'm out. I ain't got time to fill up. Let me grab this bucket and dump it on. Like, it was just being able to be outside and have so much fun, and then sit there with a strawberry shortcake and just chill and just looking around like, this is my crew. And that's when you had kids who were like from rival streets. That's when you actually have street rivalries.
Right. Right.
Man, them fools over there, I can't stand that. Yes. And just to be able to sit in that and be like, hey, I want to go have a rock fight with them, and we meet on neutral ground. Like that was rock fight. That was life.
I was about to say something, but it's gonna give me that we were some hood babies.
That was life.
Get them to on the mattress.
We all had that. Come on, man.
Come on now. Man. But you said something, Chris, that I had to piggyback just a little bit off of. You said the water guns and trying to shoot a girl. Part of that is being a young man when you start liking girls, having that summer crush. And having that summer crush because the girls got cousins and the cousins coming over, and all those things, interactions. That was natural for you
because it's summertime.
Shout out Crystal,
young
boys. I ain't gonna say that more.
To become, becoming. Shout out to Natalie and Monique, everybody.
Oh man, good times.
Yeah,
that's funny.
And skating ring, what on wheels it is. But all that, and just honorable mention too, if I had a place, would be the 80s and 90s going to the mall when the mall was like the mall.
So this is the funny thing, and this is how we grew up in the same era. So my 2 answers were Super Soaker and the WB store, because the WB store in the Del Amo Mall was the pinnacle of You talk about living life. When the Looney Tunes character theme clothing was out, when it was like when girls were after Tweety Bird, dudes was wearing like that store. I'll never forget the first time I went in that store because the store made you feel like you were in a movie, and it was a huge store for one, but it also represented the time where you still had an arcade next to McDonald's. You go there 10, 11 o'clock, take the bus, right? You get on one of these Gardena or Torrance buses, get to the mall.
Number 2.
And you and your boys are sitting there solid 6-7 hours.
Yeah.
We done had a Cinnabon. We done went to McDonald's. We done tried to get on Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter to see if we could hang. We lost right away. There's some dude here with 15 quarters lined up, so you're not getting back on unless you beat him up physically in real life. It was just a time that is gone. And it's, to your point, Reed, the only way we recapture those moments is in like some of these retro bars where they brought back the pinball machines and tried to give you that nostalgia feel where it kind of gives you a quick flip to, I remember them days, but nah. It just shows you how connected we are in our time frame, because those were my two, the Super Soaker, WB store.
And you mentioned that was like the height of like the Super Soaker was like the height of like summer excellence, and like,
oh man,
let us not forget it's the height of black excellence too. Lonnie Johnson, the creator of the Super Soaker, a black man.
You got to know that man's story and how many patents and how he eventually sued and got his money. We actually covered that story at work. Yeah, but that man was a creative genius and really
definitely
fueled the soundtrack to our lives in terms of like just playing and being a kid, because they don't make them like they used to. These knockoff Super Soakers and some of these water guns you go buy at like your Sam's Clubs and Walmart, it is not the same. Whatever they did, what he captured in that moment was just, it literally felt like magic, because there was a water gun and then there was a Super Soaker. And even to this day, you go online trying to find them, you might find one for $100, $200 for one of them original ones, because they literally don't make them like they used to.
And the one with the backpack, like you were a superstar if you had that one. Like you were like, who is this dude with the backpack?
He got that.
You got that backpack with those.
This one was rich. Is rich, and he's not going back for a refill anytime soon.
Ain't got to. You did, like, he's set for the day.
Yeah.
But it's funny.
Heard in the summertime, pumping it up, pop, 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 pop.
And again, I'd be remiss if I did not touch on certain things that would have been important to us as LA natives at that time. So the WB store that you mentioned, Chris.
I was about to do it.
You about to go? I'm looking at it. You already know it was a whole. It had a whole different meaning to us where we were going to school at. It was kind of like
going to Dorsey.
Yeah, you couldn't do it.
I'll tell you a story. I know the infamous story.
We ain't got to tell a story, but I'm just saying, like, you basically in so many words,
quickly,
go ahead.
That was representation of an opposing hood. And I remember, somebody I knew, Baby Bomb, coming up to him. He was a kid, somebody at Dorsey at the bus stop, had a Tasmanian Devil. It
was one of them WB sweatshirts.
Yeah, WB
he kept wearing it. I
kept
remember that.
And he was told, and I told him, like, bro, you need to, that's a no-go. And, he didn't want to listen. And next thing you know, we going home.
That's right.
No, I'm walking down, and I hear somebody coming to, and excuse my language, I understand. This is the area we grew up. He said, hey, blood, old boy? I just looked at him like, bro, you brought it on yourself, and that's what it was. But that's but it was.
I knew him and had to disavow all knowledge of him. I don't even know, dude. Like, I ain't about to get shot, get up, and packed out for you.
But the thing was, this is LA. That you understand. That didn't stop our parents. That didn't stop us. We knew how to navigate the streets because we lived in it, and it wasn't no cell phone. Like if you, that was just a part of growing up as a teenager too. Was you may get hit up. You got to know your surroundings.
Man, it's going to happen. The question is, it's not a matter of if, but when that's going to happen. That was a part of our childhood too. Man. Not to ruminate on that too much, but that WB era was something special. I remember my Uncle Virgil had a WB denim shirt that I wanted so bad, and everybody, he took family pictures in it. It was like, I think it was on the back too. It was on a pocket and a big thing on the back, and I still want that denim shirt to this day. I'm not sure if wearing WB gear is in vogue for a grown ass man in his 40s. Right. But just on a nostalgic tip, I would love to have it. But that time, man, pagers and all that, those of us who didn't really have actual service, who would be fronting with a fake pager with no service because it looked cool. Like, that was, if you had a pager and it was actually, it had service, you were doing something. In middle school and high school, like that was a major deal.
I want to say messages.
I want to say, this is something real quick before we get off, before we conclude the show, before we done. I want to say, I'm not sure if y'all remember this, if it was just my class, because I was a year before you guys. I want to say, maybe it might have been in LA. I want to say we were the first true freshmen in high school.
You were.
We were, right?
Before that, ninth grade was in eighth grade.
Yeah. It was middle school. It was still middle school. It was technically back then it was junior high school. It was 7th through 9th.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
And because our class in junior high school graduated with so it was 8th and 9th grade classes graduated together to go to high school. And then last year in 94, because they had to kick out that 9th grade class to go to high school. Yeah. Because freshman, sophomore, that's why Frost Soph was always one class. It was 10th, 11th, and 12th. And
right,
a lot of kids don't understand that. Like, there was a time when 9th grade was not high school. You were in junior high. Like, I'm old enough to have lived in that time, which is crazy in and of itself. Like, damn, I forget. Like, I remember 7th grade, like when my first year of junior high school at the time, like we had scrub week for 7th graders, like where you get picked on and God knows what might happen to you. If they can get away with it, they're going to do it to you. They're going to beat you up, throw you in a trash can, do whatever they need to.
Yeah.
But that was a whole different time, man. Damn, middle school, as they call it now, but junior high back in our day was 7th through 9th grade up until my 8th grade year, which was kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, it just, wow, how times have changed.
Summertime in the LBC.
And now we back in springtime, that time of year again.
I was about to say. That was a good little trip down memory lane, fellas.
Definitely, yeah.
So we'll see who brings the what y'all think for next week. But another good episode in the books. Y'all come back, hang with us, rock with us.
Please do.
You know,
please
support the pod. Like, subscribe. Don't forget to share.
Check us out.
Donate.
Not Facebook.
Yeah,
not Facebook. Check us out on YouTube at Supreme Court Basketball. Again, at Supreme Court Basketball, and our website, Supreme Court Basketball.buzzsprout.com. Again, that's the Supreme Court Basketball.buzzsprout.com. Again, like, comment, subscribe, as Chris mentioned earlier. Again, what I value most is your input, your feedback.
Let us know how we're doing, y'all.
What you'd like to hear more of, what you can do without, for that matter, if need be. You know,
right?
Either way,
we aims to please. Right. We aims to please. So
we
give us that. You know,
we was the voices. Another good one in the books, fellas. All right, y'all come back next week. We'll be back. You come back too. We out.
Yeah.